how's it going? Joe Tobias in Washington State, a Littleton photographer based in Seattle, and I'm excited for this package. Like, really excited for this. I don't know. I like film. If you didn't know that by now, you haven't been paying attention, or this is the very first video you watched. But in all that time, I have, since I bought my RZ67, I've done all of my scanning on the Epson V600, which is a great scanner, and I've made videos about scanning it both here, then later I made a better one here, and it's great. It does a great job of it, it really does, but it's so stinking slow, and I can't deal with it anymore. Got something new that I think will make things go a lot faster, and I'm excited to try it out here, which is the Valoi 360 system.
Feeling you so close to me, we drive around. Everlasting love, so much to go around. You got me.
And with that, I'm going to do a bit of a just, I guess, unboxing here, which I'm not going to like obsess over it. I'm just going to pull it out here. We can look over everything, and then let's do some film scanning. So first here, I'm going to start off with the Advancer. I just got the basic kit. So there's another one that has more film holder thingies, and then also like a film brush to get off the dust. And I might need to get those things down the road, but I wanted to be as inexpensive as possible while I was getting started. So there we go. All this. And like I said, I don't want to make this into be a big unboxing video, but I do appreciate Valoi right off the bat. Everything is made of cardboard and is fully recyclable. I mean, except there's this bag. But for the most part, excellent work. You've all seen my face, so now I'm just going to zoom on my hands as I put this together.
Is dim your glow and fly on, baby, please just go. I hope you know that I will never let you go.
All right, well, now that I have the carrier set up, I'm gonna look here at the film guides. And so the way that this particular thing works, I guess, is that this will simply sit in just like so and allow the film to slide through using the Advancer over here. Super, super simple, but it definitely, it's like, I mean, this is made of aluminum. These are made of like plastic, maybe 3D printed. I don't know, but I don't know. It seems really simple, and I'm just really excited to actually be able to do scanning with the camera because it's going to take way less time. Why did I go with the Valoi over the Negative Supply Co? Simply because it's half the price, and I'm a cheapo. So yeah, so this is the 6x7 mask for 120 film, and then here I suppose is going to be here's the 35 mask for normal 35, which is great. If I decide that I want to do borders, I probably can run the 35 film through the 120, which would be cool too. We'll just give it a lot of options. So the two things I didn't buy that really come in like the more advanced kit is I didn't buy the diffuser, but I figured with the height, and I think I have something else that's of a diffusing quality that I'll be able to put down there between my light source and this. And then I didn't buy the dust brush, which we'll see. I don't know. I might come to regret that or end up buying it down the road just because of dusty film. And then I only got the one size, the 6x7, which is great because I mean I shoot a lot of 6x7, but I would actually love to have a 6x5 frame and then be stitching my 6x7 frames instead of doing it all in one. I mean, part of the reason you want medium format is you want it to be big files, and so it would be really nice if I could then be cutting it into, you know, both 6x6 and 6x7, be cutting them into basically two photos that I'd be stitching in Lightroom before transferring in Negative Lab Pro. But I don't really want to just keep talking about this thing for too much longer, and so let's try it out. So I don't know, I was thinking like, what do I want my first photos to be? that I'm gonna dig out, and I think I'm gonna start with like Portugal, like some of my favorite photos from that trip, and I'll kind of go from there. Definitely gonna start in color, just because that's the stuff that's always been what I like the most. So here's my plan: is I'm gonna just get a few of these out, and I'm going to get everything focused up and ready to go using the system, and then I'll turn off the light, just because it will affect everything. It will be, I'll only kind of be able to utilize the Rolly stuff as far as this system goes here with the Valoi, just because everything's already been cut, because this has all been like archived, long stored photos, and so the twisty part of the Rolly to pull it, or the Valoi to pull it all the way through, is really best used for a new roll. But I have old stuff right now. I have nothing new to develop, so this is what I'm gonna work with. I can't find my bubble level right now, which is definitely a bit of a problem. It's something I'll want just to be able to make sure that all of these photos are actually going to be like straight. Also down the road, I don't know, I think I mentioned this earlier, is that I want to get a 645 box for the Valoi. Just because, as you can see, it's kind of going through here, and it doesn't want to pull all the way through very straightly. So, in order to get that to go right, alright, so there's that. Man, that doesn't look straight at all. Man, I really wish I knew where that bubble level was. Okay, so now I'm gonna start getting to that edges. Oh, and that does pull so nicely. Oh my gosh. Now I probably could actually figure out how to do the like tethering in Lightroom itself, and I probably will down the road. But for now, I'm just gonna do it through the EOS utility, just because it's easier. So I'm just gonna run these through Negative Lab Pro, and we're just gonna see what it does on the first try. I'm very skeptical about this, just because it's the first shot. I don't know how flat it is. I don't know about the light source, because I'm using an iPad. And then also, I know this light's on, so we'll see. I mean, honestly, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. Good shadow color. They look really crisp. That's why all that just took just a couple seconds, and like no extra work straight off the bat. It's very interesting because I'm so used to working with the DNG files from the. That looks really good. So I'm gonna show you both what it came straight out of camera, that, and I'm gonna compare it to an older edit, and you can see those all right now. All right, well, let's try a different photo. It does have that photo, which is a really good one. I'm not gonna lie, this is like crazy easy. This is blowing my mind, like how well that slides through like that. It's wild. I don't like those photos, those are very good. So I'm gonna try something a little different. So I'm gonna switch this way here. And because what I wanna do is I'm actually gonna bring the camera down so that I can try stitching these so these are all 6x6 photos, and so what I want to do, I want to stitch them, but I have all this extra space in here, so I'm going to try doing is bringing it down so it's even tighter, and then do it in 2 photos. Now I have these ones that I'm going to try stitching. I have that and that. So let's pull these all up here, do that. Now, let's just try making these into a panorama. Alright, so I'm gonna try turning off the light, just because I want to see what that does to change things. And then I'm also going to do some screen recording, and once I get onto the editing side, I'm going to see what this looks like. So, sorry. I'm going to try testing out with one of my more famous photos. We'll get to that. We'll do it third in the line, right in here. Is it weird to say when you have a more famous photo? I don't know. This is one of a trolley in Lisbon. Alright, so that's done. Now let's import those real fast. And we're going to take those two photos now. So I took them, 'cause the idea being here is that I figured that if I'm cutting these into two parts, the thought is that A, they're going to be bigger photos, which part of the reason you shoot medium format is you want really high quality. So if I'm stitching two photos together, it'll inherently be a bigger photo, and then it also, because these photos being square, if I shoot them all in one photo, there's going to be something that's being cropped out. And so by doing this, that it's basically the width of the photo, there's less cropping, there's less of that extra that could be messing with either the exposure in the camera or the conversion in Negative Lab Pro, theoretically. So I'm going to take each photo here. Before I do anything, I'm just taking the two photos, then real quick run up to settings, do match total exposures. So the two photos, because I'm shooting an aperture priority, if they're different, this will make them so that they are the same. Like, Lightroom will just calculate it out so that your photos will match. Then I'll put it into here, into merging them into the panoramas. I'm using perspective because perspective is better for like straight lines. If you use the other ones, it can have like a warping effect on a lot of stuff, and the lines just don't look as straight, which again, in the photos I don't care as much, because if there's not straight lines, they're not straight lines, but I want the outside edges to be straight, and so this should do a better job of syncing those. So now that's done. And now I get to do the part of Negative Lab Pro that I do understand quite well. So I'm just going to quickly take the white balance based on the outer level there. Now sometimes I do, if I know a photo is taken not during the daytime, like if it's in twilight or something like that, I sometimes will take the auto exposure rather than off of the film, because the film sides here is usually, unless it's a tungsten film, it's based on the daylight. And so, which these ones are, so I'll just do this. I'll just leave that this time. And so instead I'll do the cropping first, just like this. I'm gonna cut that down. And as you can see here, it's being a little bit weird on those edges. Now there's two reasons for that. It could be the cropping, and it also could just be that my photos aren't, like my camera isn't perfectly flat or something like that. Now that that's been stitched, I'm just going to go over here and do auto white balance, and we'll see what it does. It shouldn't make an enormous difference because Negative Lab Pro is pretty smart, and should be able to match that stuff in here, in there. Like, it shouldn't make it all work fine, but just an extra thing. I'll do the same thing in here because I do know this photo as well. Kind of that morning twilight in there, white balance to auto. Now we'll look at these three photos, flip on back to the library view, get in here so I can see them nice and big, and because I want you to all see them. Now, up here, open Negative Lab Pro. Wow. That does look really good, like right off the bat. This photo here on the right is one of my best ones from Portugal. So I'm just going to apply just to look at that. Let's pull it up. Dang, that looks fantastic. The Ektar colors are so good. These ones. Okay. These ones are gold. Some of my better photos. So these ones are 6x7 photos. So it should theoretically basically fill this entire frame. So one thing I'm finding about the Valoi here that's a little bit annoying is when you are loading it, it's a little bit tricky right at the beginning to get it to go all the way through that film plane to get it started. Right. So make a little adjustment to that. That looks So a 6x7 photo done horizontally like this, it should all fit in just 2 photos, but I just want to make sure. It might be easier just to, yeah, that should be fine. It's really nice once it like you feel it catch and then it like moves on its own. So we're gonna go back into here, back into where I am working right now here in the rescans, and we're gonna import. All right, so I'm just gonna like magic this ahead. So I have those 2 photos that are split into 3s. I'm gonna stitch them, or I'm gonna match exposures, stitch them, color correct them, and then I'm gonna open them so we can compare them to previous scans from the V600. Go. I'm having a blast. I know, right? The crazy thing is, I promise this is like so much faster than the other system. The whole reason I want to do this is because it's worlds faster. I know this feels really slow, but it is bonkers faster. Still way better.
Still, like
way better. Yeah, I've got work to do to learn how to do this. Because that's not even comparable.
No.
Well, that's annoying. Things that I definitely like right off the bat. The most amazing thing is this rolling wheel. It's fantastic. That said, with these, I'm really blown away by the quality of how smooth the film moves through this. One of the reasons that I went with the Valoi over the Negative Lab or Negative Supply Co, like their like entry-level system, was because of this roller system. Now, a lot of the film I was using was old and was had already been stored, had already been archived, and therefore had been cut. And so I didn't really get to use that spin that much through the rolling system. But every time I'd get it caught just a little bit and get to use it, it's just like, oh, this is like buttery. Oh, I like this a lot. And it really, really felt really nice. And so I definitely am excited to have a full roll to push those all the way through. Another thing that I did really like was I liked here with the especially with the 35, the ability to go either direction in there, which that seems like a small thing, but it means that it could help you have to move the machine, move the thing around quite as much, which is really good. Things that like jump out at me that I didn't love, I felt like it was a little bit tricky to feed the film into like the holders here, both on the 35 or on the 120. But that said, I feel like part of the reason that it's tricky is because it's a small hole and it's supposed to be like by making it tricky, it's going to make it do its job and stay nice and flat. And so I don't know, it's not something I really want to complain about that much. Also, you definitely saw those photos right off I showed at the beginning of like things that looked really bad. That's more on me. I learned that I was using my iPad and the light table app I was using, I think had that like nighttime color cast thing on, so it was more yellow, and that was what was changing the colors. I've done a lot more scanning and colors look a lot better, so that's not really the issue. One other thing I didn't feel like I loved a ton was that it would have these foots, though they are rubber sitting on top of the iPad, it felt like they still slid just ever so slightly every once in a while, even when I was like being really careful. So like I would try to put a hand down on top of this and push down as I was spinning the knobs in order to make sure it didn't move, but it still would move ever so slightly, which would be an issue in scanning because it meant that like batch scans didn't work quite as well as I wish they did. So I'm wondering if down the road I can kind of build a plate with like actually like drilled holes in this to help it be more secure, but we'll see. I don't know. This is kind of the fun part about this, is it feels like there's a lot of DIY that goes in making this system. Down the road, when I have a more dialed setup, I'll definitely make another video that's like very in depth on my whole system. But for now, obviously, that was not about the Valoi, that's about me. Other things that I've learned in doing this right off the bat is like, though the Valoi system is really inexpensive, it does seem that all of DSLR scanning, don't cheap out on stuff, is what I'm learning on this. Off the bat, I bought a 50mm macro lens, and though that works, it doesn't, being a 50mm, it's kind of wide, and so if it's on a full frame camera, even with like the macro settings, it can get pretty close. I actually can't quite get my full frame cameras to get close enough to have the photo, like the film fill the entire frame. So I've been shooting on a crop sensor camera that I own, which is fine. Like, that's not the end of the world. It's just like one of those extras, like, so like I'm using a camera from 2015 or something rather than one of my brand new cameras. Which again, you're shooting in RAW format on digital in this kind of a thing that shouldn't matter that much. But if down the road, it means I almost make, like, I've been thinking about selling that camera just because I wanted to get rid of it while it was still worth some money. And now it's like one extra, like, oh, do I actually want to keep that for now? Or do I need to sell it and the lens and get a different lens? The other thing I learned was I was trying to cheap out by using my tripod and inverting it. But when it's inverted like it was, it doesn't have the same stops like, you know, like a normal tripod. You pull it out and it hits like a stop, so it doesn't go any further. When it's inverted, it doesn't have those. And so I kept feeling like the tripod itself was like sliding and moving ever so slowly. And so I had to hit the refocus buttons all the time, which isn't great. So yeah, definitely I have a copy stand coming. We'll get that through it. And the last one being having a bubble level, which again, going with the tripod part, just like made it way harder trying to guess or trying to actually use like a big level. Balancing this on top of a camera to see if things are level is awkward and doesn't work very well. But my first impressions of the Valoi itself, which again, like, I feel bad saying those are like first impressions because they're not about the Valoi itself. I think this system in itself is extremely simple and extremely well built, and I'm really excited to continue to put it through its paces and to continue to learn how to maximize using it. Anyway, thanks for watching so much, and yeah, I'll see you around.